Hi, my name is Jerry, and today I want to show you how you can control Ecamm Live using MIDI with an application called ELMC. So first of all, why would you want to control Ecamm Live with MIDI? There are other alternatives out there such as the Elgato Stream Deck. However, it does cost $150 and you only get 15 buttons. But with the ELMC software, you're able to control Ecamm Live with MIDI, and you can have as many buttons as your MIDI controller support. You'll be able to control things such as scenes, screen share, picture-in-picture, cameras, videos, and overlays. So rather than boring you with a long intro about what ELMC is and what it does, let's open the software so that you can see it in action. Come on. With our ELMC software open, you can see that things are broken up into 4 sections. We have the scene section, camera section, we have a overlay section, and if we scroll down, we also have a video section. So one of the most important things that we have to do in order to use the software is we need to set up Ecamm Live. You can see that we have already set everything up. We have here a few scenes, and inside of these scenes we have some overlays. We also have a camera which is pointing to our MIDI controller. We're using a Launchpad Mini by Novation, and we're going to use that to trigger the different items here inside of Ecamm Live. So let me show you how to set up the software and how fast things can be set up and running. To use the ELMC software, the first thing that we need to do is to get all of the items that are inside of Ecamm Live here inside of the actual software. And to do so, we can go to the scene section and press the refresh button. When we press the refresh button here, you can see that it brought in all of our scenes. And we do cameras the same way. Simply by pressing the refresh button, it will bring in all of our cameras and NDI sources. We have a video section as well. If we was to press the refresh button, it will bring in all of our videos. Now, videos, these videos can be, we can fix these where they no longer show up simply by going to sources, video files, and anything that if you was to press the clear recent, it will no longer show in the ELMC software, and any video feed that you add will show up inside of the software. So this is where you would add it. Now, of course, we do also have the overlay section, which is probably going to be one of the most important sections. And to get these overlays in, all we need to do is simply press the sync button here. As you can see, we have a sync button here inside of the scene section. We would press that button, and then it's going to turn into a import now. And when we do press the sync button, what it's going to do, whatever scene that we're trying to sync, it's going to move the different scenes here, and then it's going to give us the option to import those items over. So for an example, as you can see, I press the sync button, and now you see where it says import now. If I press import, you can see that it brought in those overlays that are assigned to that specific scene. So we're going to go ahead and do that for the remaining ones. All right, so we have all of our overlays imported now. And now, since we do have that, let's get to the fun part. I did tell you that you can do this within a matter of 3 minutes. So let's go ahead and assign some MIDI to these different things, okay? So as you know, Ecamm Live does have three modes. It has a camera mode, a scene mode, and it does have a video mode. Now we added the extra mode here, which is the picture-in-picture, which will allow you to see the actual MIDI controller here in this picture-in-picture. So what we're gonna do is to assign MIDI to the first thing before we can actually assign anything, we need to select our MIDI device, and we do that down here. And I'm gonna select the Launchpad Mini, and now so that we can assign MIDI to each one of these individual things, we simply click on where it says Cam, and after I select that, I can hit this thing here that says MIDI Learn. And on my MIDI controller, I will just press a button here. And as you can see, it actually changed those values. So by hitting save, we have now assigned the camera mode to this specific MIDI controller key right here. So if I press this, you see it went to camera mode. All right, so we'll go ahead and assign the rest of these. So for screen, we'll do the same thing. If you know whatever value that you want into these, you can just enter these in manually. You can enter in CC values as well. So I'm just going to use the MIDI Learn feature so that we can do this real quickly. And I'll lastly do the picture-in-picture. Picture's done, and we're going to go ahead and assign MIDI values to these specific scenes here. So we'll just hit the pencil and paper, hit the MIDI Learn, and I'll just use the green section for that. All right, so this is basically, you know, how we assign MIDI. You would do the same thing for your camera section, just simply by just hitting that, and we'll just assign this to the blue section. All right, so that's that. Now our overlays, this is the my favorite part about Ecamm Live is being able to assign MIDI to our overlays, and we'll give the overlays the yellow section here. We'll just go down the list because I think we only have like what, 4, so we'll just assign these random. Now you may say, how do I go about by knowing what MIDI value is going to, what MIDI pad is going to be for what you know, MIDI item that I'm triggering? And you know that simply by just, you know, taking like some maybe some tape, write something on some tape for what pad is what, and just tape it onto your MIDI controller, or you can even use those clear labels that you can write with paper and pencil. So listen, I got everything set up now, and let me just show you here. So I'm putting my mouse away, my keyboard is away, and let's just say that I want to go to my countdown. So I know that this specific pad here is going to go to my count. No, not my countdown. This specific pad is going to go to my countdown. So if I was to press it, you can see I'm at my countdown, and I'm going to go back to the other specific scene, and I can do that simply by pressing this button. And as you can see, it's actually changing for us. And we'll go to the next one, and we'll go to the last one, and back to our second one. All right, so we did talk about different modes with the software. As you can see up here, we have these different modes here. We talked about modes. So let's say that you want to turn your picture-in-picture on or your picture-in-picture off. You can simply doing that simply by just touching the pad that you assigned for that. And as you can see now that the picture-in-picture did go away, which, you know, references is just right here with it. But to get it back up, we simply press the MIDI pad again, and it brings it up. Now, let's say that we want to throw on one of our overlays. Now, we have to make sure that we are triggering an overlay that is inside of the current scene. And this is why you would want to have this written down. So let's say, for an example, my transition. I have a transition which I assigned to the second pad here. If I was to press it, as you can see, it throws on that specific transition. To get it off, you just press the button again. So you press the button once to get it on. You want it off, you press the button again, and it's gone, just like that there. And you know, let's say that you wanted to try a different, we have some cheesy overlays, but you know, here I can press this button and you can see welcome to ELMC. Press it again and it's gone. So one thing is, you notice that we do have different scenes. So let's say that I was to go to my first scene and I want to trigger this specific overlay. So this overlay here that I want to trigger is on pad 4. So if I was to press pad 4, it's one of these pads. So I'm not sure what pad it is, and let's see here. Let's just go in here and we'll just hit MIDI learn, and I'll just put it at the bottom here for now. So if I was to press this, it's bringing it live. And actually the reason why you couldn't see it before is because the picture-in-picture was turned on. I'm sorry. So here is the logo, and if I press the MIDI command, it's gone, it's on, and it's gone. So that's basically how it works. And like I said, you couldn't see it because we was actually covering it up with the picture-in-picture. So back to our second scene. All right, now as you can see how we are able to trigger our overlays. One of the features here to make triggering overlays a whole lot easier is this method here called direct triggering. So if I was to turn on direct triggering, now let's say that I want to trigger the overlay that is inside of the countdown scene. I don't have to go to our MIDI controller and change to this first scene. I can simply press this button right here and it will change the scene for me and then put the overlay on. And let's turn the picture-in-picture off so that you can see it. So we're gonna turn the overlay off by pressing the button, and I will just change back to the second scene now. So we're at the second scene now. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna simply press this button. It's gonna change the scene and it's gonna put the overlay on, as you can see. So this is our MIDI controller. So press this button here. This is scene 2. If I press this button again, it's going to move to scene 1, which is the countdown, and it's going to show what took the overlay off because I forgot to turn it off the other time. But if I press the button, the overlay turns on. Press it again, the overlay turns off. Now, we did have a hello in our second scene here, which I believe that was assigned, I believe, to our second button here. So if I was to press this button, actually that was our transition. So you see the transition came on. It basically changed the scene for us and it put that specific transition on. We can turn that transition off simply by pressing the button. This is how the software works. It's easy to set up. Again, I do know that it looks like we're kind of getting a little confused with these pads. Normally times what you would normally do is you just, like I say, use a piece of tape, you know, the number of what you have on your scene, and basically, and if you don't want to use tape, you can use clear stickers and just name what that specific pad is going to trigger. That's how you would normally stay organized out with this here. One last thing that I'd like to show you is some of these MIDI controllers here have buttons that, like, you know, velocity sensitive buttons. So if you use to press it soft, the velocity may be one number, and you press it hard, it may go up to 127. Because the program does, as you can see here, it looks at the MIDI type, the MIDI note, the channel, and velocity. For those controllers that have velocity sensitive touch, we have this feature here that you can disable, which is called MIDI Advance. If you turn a MIDI Advance off, and with MIDI Advance turned off, you can press this as light as you want, and it's going to, as you can see here, it's going to basically trigger that specific overlay. And you know, that's basically a feature that we've added on for those controllers that is very sensitive to, well, not sensitive, but have those pads that are velocity sensitive. You don't have to worry about setting the velocity or knowing what those velocities are going to be. All you have to do is basically just turn this feature right here off, and it will work flawlessly for you. This is it. This is how the software works. I know that with me explaining to you how everything works, it probably took over the 3 minutes that we said, but if you was to go right in here, open the software up and try to use it, I guarantee you, you would have this thing up and going less than 3 minutes to control your Ecamm Live. So basically, that's it. All right, I hope that you enjoy this software. If there are any features or anything that you would like included into it, please leave us an email on the site there. You can go to elmc.app. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see a contact form. You can send us a direct email there with questions, concerns that you have, or if you would like to request a feature, we'll be happy to add those features into you. Thank you.